I was worried because these speakers have been out of production for years that this wouldn't even be available to purchase. So I called in to their parts replacement counter, and this is a quick how-to and a huge shout out to Polk Audio, specifically their support department. The other day while doing some direct sweeps here, I noticed that one of my speakers, these are the LSiM707s, started to make a little bit of a crackling, buzzing kind of noise during part of the sweep. And after some quick troubleshooting, I narrowed it down to this small mid-range driver. Took me a little while to do it because it was only doing it during the direct sweep, not during a roux sweep, but that turned out to be just because the roux was a couple dBs quieter than the direct sweep, and it needed to be at a certain level in order to manifest. And then you could gently put your finger on it during a sweep and it wouldn't make the noise. So my first thought was, well, maybe something's rubbing in the back. So I already had this out to take a look, but let me just show you how to do this in case you need to do anything yourself. So what we've got is, first step, taking off this rubber baffle, and it's simply on with double-sided tape. Just start at the top or the bottom. They give you these little cutouts here so you can get your nail under, or gently with a screwdriver. I just used one of these plastic spudgers. And then you're left with directly accessing the two drivers. This is the ring radiator tweeter and the small mid-range. Now, if you're wanting to take everything out and get inside, you can get to a couple of the crossover networks and some wiring and the inside bracing and that kind of thing. You just need to take out these outer 6 wood screws. But we don't need to do that. That takes out this whole assembly. There's a sealed chamber for the mid-range, there's a sealed chamber for the tweeter, and that whole thing slides out. If you just need to do the drivers, at least the mid-range, you can do it from the front. Tweeter comes off from the back, so you do have to take everything out for that. But for just the mid-range, all we have to take out are these 4 right here. And like I said, I already had it out. Now the important part of this is to make sure you're using the correct bit or screwdriver. It needs to be a perfect fit so you don't have any camming, no slipping. That way you won't damage it. So you just make sure it's a real nice tight fit. Run those 4 screws out. There's almost no force on them, so watch out when you put them back in. Just German torque specs, good and tight. That's it. Just snug them up. Don't apply any kind of sealant to them. When you get those screws removed, don't worry, it won't fall out. It's attached by the wires. You can just pop it out here, and you'll see that it's got 2 nice big chunky wire connectors right there at the top. They're plastic covered. You're going to need some needle nose pliers. Slide that back a little bit and just grab onto the metal part and disconnect them. You might need 2 pairs. What I did first is check out the wiring and make sure it wasn't hitting the cone. Everything looked fine, so it's just something in the voice coil itself. But like I said, a huge shout out to Polk. I was worried because these speakers have been out of production for years that this wouldn't even be available to purchase. So I called in to their parts replacement counter and talked to a very nice woman in their call center. She verified that yes, indeed, they did have one in stock, at least one in stock. And before I made the purchase, she's like, well, let me just look you up and make sure you don't have warranty coverage. I said, no, it can't be covered under warranty. I mean, these things are years old and they've been out of production for years, and I got them on a closeout sale. She's like, oh, let me check. Turns out I was 4.5 years into a 5-year warranty. I didn't even know I had on these. So all she needed was my receipt. I sent that in, and within a half an hour, I had a tracking number. 4 days later, delivered on a Sunday, we've got the new one. Free of charge. Awesome service. Can't compliment them enough. Thank you very much. So we're going to just pop that back in, button this back up, and be back up and running. And here's the trick to getting these connectors off. They're not just standard slide-on connectors. So if you just try to yank on them, nothing's going to happen except you're going to break something. So first thing is to slide the plastic sleeve off. And it just slides back along the wire. And then what you'll see here is this little nub. This little nub right here. And if you push down on that, it releases a little divot in the actual tab. So you have to use your needle nose pliers. Let me show you here. Grab right on that little tab so that it pushes down. hard here as I'm holding the phone, but you get the idea. Push that down, and then the whole thing slides off. See, those two little holes there are what the little divot pops into. And then the new one just pops back on, and you'll actually hear a click when those go into place. Slide the plastic back over. Put your 4 screws back in, just hand snug. And now we can just replace our gasket. Now, if your tape, for whatever reason, isn't still tacky, you can use a non-permanent glue, like a craft glue. Got a little hair, I'll remove that. And that'll allow you to take it off in the future. You don't want anything permanent. Pop it back into place. These little fingers go in the slots to align it, and you just press it down. And there we go, we're back in business. And just in case you need a real quick way to verify if you've got a problem with your mid-range, I do not suspect this is any kind of common thing, because like I said, I didn't find anybody else with this problem. But play the song Hey Now by London Grammar and turn it up a bit. Just the very first 5 seconds of the song, the synth is in the perfect range, and it'll either sound nice and smooth or it'll sound crackly. So there you go. Hope it helps. And again, thank you very much to Polk Audio. Excellent support. We'll see you next time.